Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the Easy Peasy Show brought to you by Sportasonic. You can listen to every episode of the Easy Peasy Show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or anywhere else you usually listen to your podcast on. Once again, thank you for tuning in. Now let's get into the episode. Hello, all. Thank you for tuning in to the Easy Peasy Show. Once again, I am Zach here with my co host Peyton. A nice, fun weekend filled with sports of all kinds. NFL finally made its first weekend debut.
Whoop.
I had trouble getting my red zone started up, but that's okay. I was able to finally get it going. Was able to enjoy my Sunday, jumping between all the games. I'm a Ravens fan first. Unfortunately, I didn't get to really watch much of the game. I surprisingly was just jumping around between all kinds of other games. So unfortunately, I missed my own team. I got to watch the Sicko Bowl of the weekend, the Saints and Titans instead. We can cover that later, though. What a hot mess that was. Let's see. An exciting Saturday. We start with UFC and a pretty shocking upset in Australia. Sean Strickland is now your UFC middleweight champion. Probably one of the biggest upsets in recent memory as far as the UFC is concerned, especially the male side of things. Yeah, Izzy's game plan didn't work. Sean's game plan worked. So, I mean, yeah, I don't know what Izzy was thinking. I don't know if his coaches didn't care, if he didn't care, if he's just um, like over this UFC thing now. I guess as we see some fighters, their personality gets too big for the octagon. Maybe Izzy's experiencing that. Oh, regardless, props to Sean Strickland for going in there and I mean, he didn't exactly do the most, but I mean, he won pretty easily. At least I think. I don't think the judges screwed up at all. I mean, I think it was fair to say it was 4-1 across the board. I'm glad to see the judge. I thought honestly, I did think at least one of the judges would would rule it in favor of Izzy, just because I don't put anything past those judges. But for what it's worth, they didn't mess up this time. And like I said, we have a new UFC middleweight champion. Peyton, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, hey, congrats to Sean Strickland. Like you alluded to, I really don't understand Izzy's game plan. I mean, he just let Sean stalk him down the whole time, and I mean, obviously that goes a long way in the judges' minds. Like you said, I don't think Sean necessarily went out and won the fight, but Izzy didn't exactly help himself either. I will say this, Zach, because I've been seeing this for months now. People calling Izzy the middleweight goat. Well, you know better than anybody else out there. Um, I used to be an Izzy fan. But dude, I just never understood that. To me, Anderson Silva completely blows him away in that conversation.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I don't know. I think this spectacle that is Israel. I mean, Anderson Silva. Don't get me wrong, is a spectacle in his own right, but uh, and not to say Israel Adesanya is full of antics, but that's kind of what he is. I think that's what draws people into him. Kind of the same way that people are attracted to Sugar Sean. I think Izzy, like I said, he just has a big mouth, has a fun fighting style. He claims to be for the people. Does that kind of thing. Uh, so I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I think, and maybe recency bias has something to do with it too.
Yeah, I think that's what it mostly comes down to is people always, people want to say that they're witnessing greatness. To me, that's just how I feel about it. Which look, Izzy's a great, he's a great fighter. He's one of the best. Uh, he's up there in that conversation, but I don't think he clears Anderson Silva, and I don't think it's particularly close.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And man, I can't believe there was ever kind of. I mean, you know me. I was probably one of the biggest Izzy haters ever since he started getting popular. That's just what I do. I I'm not a big fan of the fakeness, and I saw right through him. Anyways, I can't believe people thought that a fight between him and John Jones would be close. Maybe
No,
maybe Izzy like 3 years ago it would have been close, but I think John Jones clears him regardless.
think I think Adesanya fans as a whole were kind of really, and like I said, I used to be an Adesanya fan. Past few fights, man, I don't know. He's just kind of corny to me now.
Mhm.
I don't know, but
Chinese King.
yeah, but I was never the biggest. I mean, I was a big fan of him, but I wasn't blinded by. I don't know. I feel like a lot of Adesanya fans are kind of blinded by recency bias or their love for the guy. John Jones would have wiped the floor with that guy, and it wouldn't have been particularly close.
John Jones would have thrown him out the octagon, then like got on top of the octagon and dropped a people's elbow on him, or like a flying like Shawn Michaels elbow on him.
I mean, really,
Yeah,
like I don't even understand where people have an argument there.
me neither. Trust me, I don't get it. I don't get
I
it. I
don't
mean,
know.
I'm a huge John Jones fan, so maybe I'm biased, and plus, I really don't like Izzy Adesanya. But enough for the main event. We can go ahead and, or unless you want to wrap it up really quick, and we can move on to the other fights.
Yeah, I mean, admittedly, I didn't really watch a whole lot of the fights this weekend. I was watching more college football, so I'll let you kind of take control, like not take control, but take over on that
Yeah,
front.
that's fine. Yep, let Daddy handle it. So we'll start off in the prelims. Two first round submissions to start off the card. We had Kevin Jusay submit. I'm sorry, Kiefer Crosby via rear naked choke. Pretty late in the first round, and then we had Gabe Miranda get Shane Young out of there with a rear naked choke in the first round. I think I may have said Shane Young was going to win, but let the record show, and Peyton can back me up on this. After seeing the weigh-ins, I changed my mind immediately. immediately, you can look at my bet slip. I did not support Shane Young, so yeah, like I said, let the record show. Uh, Shane Young was a joke to me, and I never picked him to win. Anyways, moving on to three less entertaining fights. I say that just as far as the outcome was. Charles Radke defeated Blood Diamond via decision. Both the guys got beat up pretty bad in there, but as we expected, Blood Diamond just isn't true UFC caliber. So he falls to 3-3. Moving on to the next fight, we had Hawk Pross go up against Kianonis. Another decision win for Hawk Pross there. He's able to land the bigger shots. I think that's what got him the. I think it was a 30-27 across the board from all the judges. So yeah, give him the unanimous decision win. Then we got up to a more decently, I guess, entertaining fight with Malarkey and McDessie. Malarkey wins via decision, unanimous. So Malarkey keeps climbing the rankings, climbing up in people's hearts. I think he's got a little nice little hype train behind him now. I think he's going to be fighting bigger names, so a name to watch out for the future. And then we got to a fight that ended. I mean, I guess good for Marascal. He threw Jack Jenkins, did like a judo throw to him, and Jenkins unfortunately kind of like locked up his right side as he hit the ground. So I think he dislocated his shoulder, I believe, and unfortunately, the fight had to be stopped right there. So give Marasco, I think it counted. I think it counts as a KO. Um, yeah, yes, it does. It's like a TKO KO. So
It wouldn't be
give
like a
that to
doctor stoppage type of thing.
since it was the middle of the round, and
Ah,
yeah, no, I think and it just stopped right there. Like I'm reading on Tapology right now. This is a verbal tap out from arm injury, KO TKO. So
interesting.
yep, and then getting up to the more interesting fights for what this card, I guess, for what it's worth. And I say this is interesting just because I'm a Carlos Ulberg fan, like most people. Ulberg gets a rear naked choke submission round three against Dong Jung. So Donu Jung once again starts to look a little worse for the wear here. He's really falling down the rankings here. Maybe cut soon, I don't know. But Carlos Ulberg, his hype still continues to climb. He's now 9-1 in the UFC, and once again, that's another guy I look out for. He may be fighting bigger names in the future. Making our way to the main card, we have Tyson Pedro versus Pleasure Man. Wasn't particularly close. Pedro, as we talked about, it was first round Pedro or Pleasure Man, second or third round. Pedro came out there, landed some clean shots against Pleasure Man, got him out of there. Then we move on to a rematch. Our second fight of the main card, Tafa versus Lane. Uh, yeah, that fight pretty much picked up where I left off of a couple months ago. Tafa got a nice left hook and then got the ground and pound to finish Lane. Move on to what I thought was going to be a pretty entertaining fight. Ended up, yes, definitely being an entertaining fight. Ncaaf versus Felipe dos Santos. Uh, I'm impressed with Dos Santos. I gotta say, he made it very interesting with Cop. You know, I think Cop made 130-27 on all the cards. But for what it's worth, for such a huge step up in competition for Dos Santos, he showed out. He impressed me a lot. And I mean, Minnicop was he wasn't dropping him left and right, but boy, he was putting him in a bind. He did get dropped a couple of times, but he'd hop right back up, and then he was catching Cop with a couple of his own. So yeah, I'm happy. I think Dos Santos. You came in as a pretty heavy underdog. You weren't expected to win, but you still kind of got to win in your book. I think at least. I know
Yeah,
you're
made
seven
some
and one
fans
now,
for
but
sure.
yeah, absolutely. And like I said, UFC doesn't take that lightly. You know, someone who comes in at short notice, and you're not really put in a position to win. But UFC obviously appreciates you and will look heavily in your favor if you ever want like a bigger fight or you want to fight someone specific. You're the man now, at least to Dana White. Moving on to the co-main in the heavyweight division. Unfortunately, our guy tied to Ivasa couldn't get Volkov out of there. Even more unfortunate. I don't even think he caught him once. I think Volkov learned from the Derek Lewis experience to keep it at a distance if at all possible. And Ty was trying. I will say Ty was trying to cut the tree down. He kept Volkov loves to leave his leg out there. Tuivasa kept chopping at it, but Volkov just withstood it. Was able to keep the distance. Piece tied Tuivasa up. Like I said, wasn't really particularly close. Got tied down and ended up submitting him with an Ezekiel choke. And moving on to the main event, that which we already touched on for the middleweight championship, Sean Strickland upsets Israel Adesanya via decision. Like I said, Izzy spent most of this. Sorry, I had a trade offer in my fantasy league. We talk about that later. Anyways, yeah, I mean Israel Adesanya, he was backing up most of the fight, and I get it. That's kind of part of his game. He loves to pick out his counters, and he's more against some fighters. At least he's more particular about what strikes he throws, when he throws them. I get it, but going up against such like a heavy boxer, Sean Strickland, who is just a tank. He just moves forward as the aggressor. I mean, I don't know how you lost this fight as you're out of. I mean, I get how you lost. You didn't really have a good game plan. You just looked like the timid opponent in there. You didn't look like a champion. Say it like I'll put it like that. Sean Strickland got in there. Like I said, he didn't really do. He really wasn't like championship material either. At the end of the day, he beat the champion, beat him fair and square, pretty soundly too. At least I think so. Yeah, new middleweight champion. Don't know what's next. I know Duplessis. We assumed that was just going to be the next match for Adesanya. Maybe it will be, but it's hard to see a world where Adesanya doesn't get just an immediate rematch with Strickland. And
Yeah, I think
it's
Dana
hard also
also
hard
hit
to
on
see a
that.
world. What's that?
I think Dana actually said that it's hard to see any other avenue other than a immediate rematch, which I have my own thoughts on. Do I okay now? I will say this: do I think Adesanya deserves an immediate rematch? Yeah, absolutely. Dude's cleared out the division pretty much. So who else is there? But on the other hand, if you're going to give it Izzy an immediate rematch, you have to get Aljo an immediate rematch. Like I mean, come on now, come on.
Right. Yeah, you can't. Yeah, it's hard. I mean, obviously, like I said, Dana White loves his little superstars. Israel Adesanya being one of them. Sean Strickland. I mean, not Sean Strickland. Great. Here
Sean
we go.
O'Malley.
Yeah, no, it's the takeover of the Sean. Sean O'Malley being another one. Uh, but yeah, it's hard. It is hard to see because I mean, it's not even apples to oranges. It's apples to apples right there. What you're comparing.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, two guys that were in that conversation for the greatest of all time in their division. Aljo was getting up there in that conversation. Izzy getting up there in that conversation. They both kind of cleared out the division in a way, like all the best guys, and and then you give one an immediate rematch and not the other. I don't know.
right, and Sean Strickland and Israel Adesanya would be about it, but I'm sure you saw. I think Aljo was there on the sidelines, in the crowd, and they like panned to him or whatever on his phone. He said, "Hey, like, hey, sugar rematch?" Like question mark, and with like a bunch of money bags, and then Sugar replied and said no or like no, LOL or something. So kind of weird. You hate to see that for your new champion, or Like, Sean's funny. Don't get me wrong. Sugar Sean, that is. Sugar Sean O'Malley, that is. You got to
Hold
be
on,
real
wait, he really
specific here
said
now.
that?
Yeah,
Like,
because
that's
like I
no
said,
troll.
no, like Aljo was in the crowd. So right, he said Sugar rematch question mark with a bunch of money bags, and then Sugar took it like got someone to take a picture of him holding his phone like Snapchat, and he wrote no, and that, I mean that was it. That was just his response. So
Mhm.
hate to see that for your new champion. Like I said, not really a good look. Because like I said, it's rare to see whenever a new champion. That's kind of like the christening of the new champion. Like if you're really a true champion, you go out and beat the guy again who you took the belt from. I mean, even Kamaru Usman, who got knocked, who got flatlined the first time he fought Leon Edwards,
But he
got
was
a rematch.
dominating Leon.
Yeah,
And Leon even, I mean, if I was Leon, I might not wanna agree to that fight, but Leon was more than happy to agree to it.
yeah, exactly. 'Cause, I mean, usually, like I said, you're a champion, you want to prove it. You want to be like, okay, like let's shut the doubters up, And I know Sean Strickland's going to be about it. And like I said, Israel definitely wants a rematch, and Dana wants to see it happen. And Dan almost wouldn't surprise me if that's like a fight they make in January. I don't know like what the headline for like the January or February card is, but Izzy loves to fight very frequently, and
Yeah, I mean,
Sean
he's
would
definitely one
definitely
of the
be
more
about it.
active guys.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I would say like he'd fight in December, but I think there's a who's fighting in December.
John Jones.
That's not November.
It might be November. I might have
But
it wrong.
anyways, I don't know if there's a main event for the December card, but if there is, it's hard. It's hard to see a card that Izzy. I know Sean wouldn't care. Sean, like if it's Sean say so, he's like, yeah, let's do it on this card. Um,
Hey, isn't there somebody that John like refuses to fight on the same card as? I'm trying to think. I'm drawing a blank of who it is. Like they want to fight.
Connor.
And no, I don't think it's Connor.
Daniel Cormier.
No, no, I don't even think it's somebody in his division.
Uh,
Dude, man, I cannot remember for
Izzy.
the life of me. Nah, it ain't Izzy. I don't think him and Izzy have bad blood.
Brendan Marina.
Dude, I don't know. I don't think it's a championship guy. I could be wrong, but I know there are a
Pleasure
lot of
man.
rumors. I'm about to look that up.
Yeah, look it up. Let me know what you find. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, we have it once again wrapping up the UFC here. 293, a shocker for everyone. Israel Adesanya loses his belt via Sean Strickland domination. So kind of a crazy main
That
event,
makes
and
sense.
even Izzy got. I'll say this one thing. I'll let you talk. And first round, I thought Sean was going to get a knockout win. I mean, Sean got a huge knockdown on Izzy, which I think was the first recorded knockdown for Izzy, or what I mean, against Izzy. And like Sean landed like 25 just like hooks in a row. I mean, Izzy he was taking them. And he was conscious, but I mean, man, I'd say half the refs in the UFC stopped that fight right there. Props to the ref. Man, I forgot who was ref in the fight.
Well, I think
Um,
Izzy did give a thumbs up. Not that that matters really, but if you're conscious enough to turn to the ref and tell him, "Hey, I'm good," maybe maybe that swayed his decision to not stop it. I don't know, but yeah, I'm with you. A lot of referees, aside from like Herb Jones, who let Yair Rodriguez just get pounded on by
mhm.
Volkanovski.
Yeah,
I
no,
mean,
like it's
I'm
it's.
convinced Herb Jones wants to see somebody die and knocked a gun.
You mean Herb Dean, but yeah.
Oh, Herb Jones, the Pelicans player.
Yes,
Oh
I
man,
understand. I said, I
yes,
know,
Herb
I
Jones.
get it, I get it. I know NBA is right around the corner. I get it, but
There's not a whole lot of
yes,
people named Herb. I'm sorry.
yeah, I know, I understand, I understand. Like, you talk about Herb Jones more than you talk about Herb Dean. Listen, being a Pelicans fan, so I mean, I totally get it. Just
Yeah,
what do you call it? Freudian slip. Whenever you say something,
like Shannon Sharp
you know.
the other day on First Take.
Yeah. Listen, Skip. Oh, my bad. Stephen
Oh,
A. What you just call me?
it's been 7 years, Stephen A. It's been 7 years. Mm.
Uh, Great stuff. But yeah. What'd you find on John Jones? So we can wrap up
So
UFC.
yeah, so it actually makes sense. So it's actually a fighter that you were just talking about that hasn't fought and defended his belt in a while. See if he can figure it
Let me
out.
think. Let me think. I was just talking about him.
We were talking about him fighting somebody else, and you were really talking about like the other guy. It was Leon Edwards. Um,
Oh,
Obi wants that fight. I think Dana wants that fight,
what?
so I
Leon
mean
Edwards
this is
versus
gonna
John
be
Jones?
no Colby and Leon.
I know. I'm joking. Oh, dude.
Um,
Oh, yes.
and
I
it's
know.
been rumored.
You seen the memes with the white guy takeover? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yes, yeah. I saw one today, and it was like just one more left.
Yeah, 2 out of 3. One more, like 2 down, 1 more to go. It has this Colby
Yes,
Covington flexion with the belt on.
yes. Oh my goodness. But yeah, John Jones apparently hates him and doesn't want to fight on the same card as him. So that's what's holding that fight up.
Oh,
Which that is a fight that I'm very interested in because I'm curious to see how Leon deals with Colby's constant pressure.
yeah, no, totally different fight than we've seen Leon have at least in the recent years.
I mean, yeah,
Totally
that
different
that
fighter.
that
Because I mean,
approach.
Colby Covington will, given the opportunity, will win a fight via domination. I know his fights aren't exactly. I feel like his fights are exciting just because he actually does have that power, and
Oh yeah, and
I
he's
mean, you know,
he's he's,
it's
he's an
such.
All American wrestler. It's not like
Yeah, I
he's
was about to
a
say, and
bum or
it's
anything.
fun. It's fun, I think, at least to watch. I know some people really hate that part of the MMA, but I think that's the beauty of the MMA actually. Like seeing someone who actually wrestles well, like obviously, like, people whenever they grapple and get up against the cage, and it's just like you can just see them taking a break on each other. I'm not a big
Yeah,
fan
I
of
don't.
that,
I'm
but I
not.
mean,
Yeah, I'm not either.
but like Colby Covington, he's fun to watch because it is just like,
Constant
um,
working.
yeah, it's yes, and it's like I mean, he any angle. I mean, he'll find a way to take you down or at least get you up against the cage, and I mean, he never stops working.
Yeah,
But
and then when he knows he doesn't have a takedown, he'll just come up throwing elbows and go right back down.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
dude, it's incredible cardio.
yeah, I know, dude. That's the one thing I think. Pound for pound, Colby Covington may have the best cardio in the UFC.
Him and
Um,
Marab,
yep. Oh
which
man.
hey, guess what? It's a similar style, very similar style.
Hmm.
I mean that it's kind of weird that you don't see. Oh, I say that. I say it's kind of weird you don't see more people do that. But I mean, it takes like a third long to do so. So I guess it's
Yeah.
not so different. It's not so weird that you don't see people.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, that'll recap UFC 293. We should have a much more interesting pay per view the next time we talk about one that's UFC 294. Um, there should be a lot more interesting matchups, at least I should say. Uh, yeah, that'll be a fun one. I forgot. I don't know when is UFC 294. 21st. I'm seeing, and that'll be in Abu Dhabi. Oh, that'll be on Fight. No, is that gonna be on Fight Island? I'm so used to their fights in Abu Dhabi being on Fight Island. But yeah.
Mm,
Anyways, for what it's worth, it'll be Makachev versus Olivier too for the
which
lightweight
could be a banger,
championship.
could be total domination.
Yeah, I know, and I'd like to err on the side that it should be a banger. I know people hate Makachev, so
Some people hate Oliveira too, man. I don't understand that. I don't hate Makachev. I think a lot of people just look at Makachev as kind of like a Habib, and they might be Connor fans, but I mean he's a totally different guy.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's fine. I mean, I'm looking at the card right now. Chimaev and Costa. Man, I really hope. I know this fight's so long, it's so far out that I'm afraid. I'm actually pretty afraid that some of these fights aren't going to happen. Just because I mean, I can just see every time we get like a stacked card, it's just you always see like, oh, canceled, or like, oh,
Yeah,
out,
Shemaev already has a bad rap of missing weight. Now that was at welterweight, not middleweight,
Yeah,
but
not yeah. I do. He
Acosta
can't
does too
maintain
at
weight at all.
middleweight.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah. I, hey, they may just have to agree to a catch weight like at 190 or 195 or something.
Yeah, I know. Which I will be interested to see that fight. I mean, I know Costa's not a wrestler,
Hmm.
but his size could give Cosmo some trouble.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Especially where was it? His last fight was against? Oh god, it's been
Was
a
it
while.
Vittori?
No, 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 no. I'm talking about Chamav.
I think it was Holland
Yeah, it was earlier. No, I'm sorry. Oh, exactly a
last
year
year.
ago, actually, to the day on the DS. Yeah, because that's right. That's the card where like everyone
He
was
missed
missing
weight by
weight, and so
like
everyone had to like switch fighters. Um,
yes,
but yeah, and before that, it was the Banger versus Gilbert Burns. So
yeah. To me, I think the UFC might have suspended Chimaev after that, being that he hasn't fought in a year. I don't
yeah,
know
or
about
like
you.
give him a year to get his get his stuff straight. So maybe
I mean,
not sure. But anyways, that should be.
if I'm not mistaken, he missed weight by like
Oh yeah, it
15
wasn't even close. It
pounds.
wasn't even
Yeah,
close, and he like laughed it off.
yeah. I know Dana does not like that at all. So
Did you see what
it
Daniel
wouldn't.
Cormier had to say about Izzy?
No, I didn't.
He said, "I'm reading the headlines on Topology," but he said Izzy doesn't deserve a rematch, and that the division needs to move on from him.
Hey, that might be the move. I don't know.
I know, honestly, I would. That's what I'm saying. I hate it for Duplessis, but I'd almost rather see Izzy and Duplessis still fight before Sean has to rematch Izzy, if that makes sense. And I kind of hate that for Izzy, I guess, because it's like we're discussing the whole championship rematch thing. But yeah, I was really interested in that fight, but yeah,
Yeah, I mean, is he losing to Sean Strickland of all people? Really?
I know,
I
I
mean,
know.
it's not a good loss, man.
Oh no,
I
no,
hate to
no,
say
no,
any
not at
loss
all.
is a good loss, but some are definitely worse than others.
Yeah, and that's I'm not saying Sean Strickland. Sorry, I'm not saying Sean Strickland is a slouch, but we talk about it all the time that there's levels to this thing. Sorry, I was getting up to turn on my ceiling fan. Yeah, we talk about all the time that there's levels to this thing. I can't tell you how confident I was in Izzy winning just because I didn't think Sean stood a chance. But like I said, this is the Izzy we saw last night was not.
Terrible.
Yeah, yeah, he was bad. He's not the Izzy I expected to see out there. He's not championship Izzy. But
No. Well, I mean that is championship is yeah, I guess in a way. Like when he's holding the belt, the dude's like one of the most boring fighters in the UFC. I hate to say it.
yeah,
His striking's on another level, sure, but it's not like he's going and he's trying to make a name for himself. At this point, I mean, he's just sitting back and trying to point his way to a victory. And when somebody's that aggressive like Sean Strickland is, you can't do that. I mean, if you call yourself the style bender, you have to be able to fight different styles, and he just showed last night that he can't do it.
hmm oh
So
yeah, undoubtedly. But yeah, I think that'll do it for UFC. We talked a lot longer than I think either of us intended on, so we can move on to what say you, NCAA football week
yeah, since I
two
spent
action.
yes, I spent most of the day Saturday watching a lot of games. I had some impressive games, some very unimpressive things that I saw from my team in particular.
hmm Yeah, I know. Oh, I wonder whatever happened to that Grambling kid. Anyways, yeah, there was some. I was trying to do my best to jump around between all the games yesterday, as well, and like I said, definitely some good ones and definitely some head scratchers of games out there. Some teams that did well, teams that disappointed, um, teams that got exposed, if you will, and but yeah, I think most of the teams did what they had to do, and have the AP poll in front of me. I hate ESPN whenever they put out the poll like that. Clicked on the wrong thing. Let me look at it like this. There we go. AP poll week 3. Yes. Um, and we had some good risers and some good fallers in the AP poll. Um, but I'll let you get started. If you want to start with, I don't know what game you want to start with. I know there's a good bit of interesting ones.
Yeah, I'll start with I think the biggest game of the week was Texas and Alabama. I think a lot of people would agree with me there.
hmm
Obviously, Alabama lost at home to Texas, and to be quite frank, I mean, the scoreboard shows it was somewhat close, but dude, it wasn't. I mean,
Mhm.
Texas O line, D line just absolutely dominated Alabama, and I
Mhm.
don't know, I can't tell you the last time I saw that for a Nick Saban coach team. It's been a while, man. Like,
Oh
uh,
yeah.
I know a lot of people were saying, "Hey, it's the end of the dynasty," and to an extent, I was like, "Yeah, I can see it," but then again, like, I mean, it's Nick Saban, dude. Like you really think he's not going to be able to adjust? But seeing the quarterback play, um, seeing how they played Saturday, yeah, I think it really is truly the beginning of the end for him. Not even the
Mhm.
beginning, really. I mean, you can see the cracks right now.
Oh yeah.
They don't look good, dude. They don't look good at all. And Texas, obviously, with NIL coming into play, Texas can pay a lot of money for some of these players. And, I thought it was interesting. As an LSU fan, I do follow a lot of recruiting. Um, w- we're not even, like going after the same players anymore. I think Texas has scared Bama off so much recruiting wise that, like, Bama's not even recruiting the same players as we are from Texas and from like Western Louisiana, which is insane. I mean, Bama. Let's keep it real here. Bama made a dynasty out of a lot of Louisiana players.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think you even mentioned it. Tulane. I mean, they obviously they shop around in state a good bit, and
And I texted you Saturday about. I mean, the shortcomings of Ed Ogeron. I think a lot of it hinged on in-state recruiting, letting a lot of those diamond in the rough type of players slip through his fingers. I mean,
oh yeah.
you look at guys that have come through LSU like Tyron Matthew. I mean, those aren't highly recruited guys. Losing a 3 star is a lot of times a 4 or 5 star in another state, or if they go to
Mhm.
camps, like that's the big thing. A lot of losing kids don't go to camps a lot. So, man, it's just it's really frustrating to see some of these Louisiana kids as an LSU fan, and you see them playing for a team like Tulane, where, listen, I mean, like I just said, normally they're at LSU, um, and they're just not, man. I mean, like Tulane's defensive line, their wide receiver Jaquan Jackson. I mean, those are a lot of those kids are Louisiana guys, and they're just not getting picked up by LSU. Now, I will say
Mhm.
this: Brian Kelly's doing a lot better job at that. Um, and I'm happy about that. But we'll get to LSU in a second. But for now, I mean, look, Alabama, the dynasty is coming to an end. I've I've held off on saying that for long enough. It's coming to an end, man. There's no other way around it. Um, Alabama fans can come for me if they want, but I mean, dude, it's there. It's it. That's it. It's over.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. I think the writing's on the wall for Alabama, and I think me and you kind of called it. I mean, I know you said you had Alabama winning the SEC West, and which I mean they still very may will. Sorry.
The West is wide
Um,
open.
yeah, absolutely. It seemed like Alabama's who they're taking now. They lose in a dominant fashion to Texas. It's it makes you want. I mean, at the end of the day, I think the LSU loss is just as bad as the Alabama loss to two great teams. Like I said, the current three ranked and the current four ranked teams in Florida State and Texas, respectively. Like I said, LSU loses to Florida State, Alabama loses to Texas, but both in dominant fashion. Like I said, I know the scores don't reflect it otherwise, but take the good with the bad for LSU. That had a pretty good first half against Florida State for what it's for what it's worth, and they took the buses out there at halftime, and then Alabama, like I said, the whole game it was weird seeing an Alabama team struggle to get going at home. And I don't think we're mentioning that enough. The fact that it's at home, it's so weird. It was weird. That place was quiet. I mean, people were heading out the doors halfway through the fourth. It's like what's going I mean, what's going on?
Yeah,
But
that's a like Alabama opponent thing,
mhm.
leaving in the third quarter or early fourth quarter. It's not Alabama thing. Alabama fans don't leave that early. That's
No. The last time it happened, Nick Saban like tore him a new one, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, it's like I said, it's definitely weird seeing Alabama in the state. But I think me and you kind of touched on it that it was definitely a possibility this season. And I'm not going to sit here and say Alabama's about to finish with 3 or 4 losses. I still think that's far out of the picture. Um, but I think, like I said, for what it's worth, this shows that Alabama. There's no need to be afraid of Alabama anymore. I think that's just the best way I can put it. You don't have to like. I think you can genuinely think, okay, we have a chance at beating Alabama this year. I mean, several teams have done it the past few seasons now. It's just they're not them anymore. But that's my 2 cents about it, at least.
yeah. I mean, they're just not the same team, dude. It's crazy thinking that a Nick Saban team could have just gotten dominated defensively, offensively, everywhere. I mean,
Hmm.
like I said, I haven't ever seen that from a Nick Saban team.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I mean, it's truly the end of an era. So
Yep. I agree. But any other games that piqued your interest this weekend?
yeah, I mean, I watched the entirety of the Ole Miss Tulane game. Obviously, Tulane fan. I root for all. That's I think I said that earlier this year on one of the podcasts. I root for all the Louisiana schools, man. Always want to see them succeed. So it was good to
Hmm.
see Tulane really hang in there and honestly just dominate Ole Miss at times.
Yeah, I agree. They had Jackson Dart looking like an amateur. I mean, again, he is an amateur, but you know what I mean. A guy who is highly praised for his abilities. They made him look like a clown out there, at least for the first half. I know once again it's one of those things where the score doesn't reflect the actual outcome of the game. I'm sorry, the score doesn't reflect how the game played out because um, the wheels just really fell off for Tulane towards the end. But
So they were
and
in
it was
desperation mode.
yeah, exactly. And like I said, I mean, and it sucks. Let's be honest here. Um, like I said, I guess I'm still really getting into the college world of things, so I didn't realize how big of a loss Michael Pratt would be. I didn't exactly shrug it off. I mean, it kind of sucked, but I was like, oh, I mean, the backup should be able to kind of get in there and at least not have the ship sink. At least keep it floating. But no, that really wasn't the case. He kind of struggled all game. Like I guess I'm used to NFL where backups are professional quality still. And
Well, look, I mean, Kai Horton came in. He made some really nice plays. Really nice plays. But obviously, in the second half, Ole Miss buckled down, made some really good adjustments, and ultimately really shut them down in the second half. I think they only had 3 points in the second half.
yeah, definitely. And like I said, good for Ole Miss for being able to make the adjustments and run away with it at the end. And I mean, also good for Tulane for I know we mentioned it. Their front seven already was I mean, absolutely dominant. I mean, they made Ole Miss, and like I said, I mean, I know me and you both agree that Ole Miss's O line isn't uh you know like S tier quality. At the end of the day, they're an O line that plays in the Southeastern Conference. Um, and they're not. I don't know how to put this. The Ole Miss O line is nothing to laugh at. Like them being dominated by Tulane was impressive by Tulane, I should say.
Oh, 100%.
Um, for I mean an O line that usually, like I said, usually makes Jackson Dart look like the guy he is. I mean Jackson was put under pressure. I mean more times than he wasn't. So I mean, yeah, really good showing by the Tulane defense. I know once again, I think what it was like 37 or something points Ole Miss scored. But no, like I said, that's not really a direct reflection of the
Yeah, I
defense.
think
I
they had
think,
what is it? Was it a pick six or a scoop and score at the end?
yeah, and like it's just what you touched on it already. It was just Tulane having to like out of options. You got to do what you got to do. Go out swinging kind of thing. But
Yep.
yeah, good for both teams. I think Tulane dropped out of the rankings. Ole Miss shot up a couple of spots for what that's
That's
worth.
not fair.
Yeah, but I think it was also one of those things where I think the voters may have been looking for a reason to push Tulane out. But Tulane's got like 17 points now. Like
Mm.
I'm trying to like compare them. Wisconsin's got
Who,
10.
who's the number
I say
25
points by
team?
like vote points. Iowa. This is the AP poll, by the way, not the coaches poll.
Yeah, yeah, no, I
Um,
know. About 24.
24 is UCLA. The first four in are actually, well, I kind of just said it. They're the first four in. They weren't ranked last week. It's Iowa at 25, UCLA at 24, Washington State at 23, and Miami at 22. So Wisconsin, Clemson, Tulane, Texas A&M all got dropped. I see you must have some thoughts about that.
I'm trying to think.
Oh, and but North Carolina, by the way, dropped 4 spots. Granted, I will say, kind of a combination of things had to happen there. Um, the teams below them played very well, and they didn't play all that well. So, it was kind of a combination of North Carolina dropping and also other teams just, going up. So, like, if you get what I'm saying, North Carolina dropped 4 spots, but Ole Miss jumped 3 and Colorado jumped 7. Oregon State jumped 2. Oregon State 16, Ole Miss 17, Colorado 18. Oklahoma dropped to
Oregon
19,
State
two
jumped two
spots.
spots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They didn't
And
play
like I said, North
anybody.
Carolina dropped 4 spots, and Duke is up at 21. Like I said, obviously, these rankings can also just be a reflection of how other teams around them do.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't know. This is why I don't look at. This is why I don't even freaking look at the rankings until like
yeah,
week
yeah,
6.
yeah. Or at least
They
whenever
mean
the
nothing.
college football playoff rankings come out, it'll be like that's your main one you're really concerned about at this point.
Yeah,
Should be the only one you're concerned about, I guess, being a uh, being a college football fan. But can move on to, let's see. Oh, another good game. Yeah, Miami and Texas A&M, another good game that we should move on to. So yeah, Miami beats Texas A&M pretty handedly. I mean, I think it was a close game, back and forth. I unfortunately wasn't able to watch it all that much, but Miami was. I know they were underdogs, and they ended up winning by 14. I'm sorry, 15 points, 48-33. I said pretty dominant fashion against Texas A&M. And unfortunately, my co-host Peyton had to dip out unwillingly for a second. The programmer used crapped out, so it's just me for the foreseeable future, at least until he gets his working again, if he can. So yeah, I know. Like I said, Peyton would be upset because I know he had like a lot of money riding on this game. It was his first weekend getting into the betting world, and unfortunately, he got screwed. That's a nice little welcome to the betting world because that's all that's ever going to happen. So yeah, that was a good game though. Interesting enough. I know a lot of people in Texas A&M and are mainly fading Miami, and I get it. But for what it's worth, I thought Miami stood a chance. I know they're only like 3 point underdogs. Like I said, Miami's got all the talent in the world. Maybe they're finally putting it together. But yeah, that'll wrap up college football. Move on to NFL here, real quick. And like I said, I don't want to talk too much. I know me Peyton had a lot of stuff planned, but unfortunately, I guess the way the dice roll, won't be able to do that for today's episode. But moving on into, I talked about it already. Sicko game of the week: Titans and Saints. Saints beat the Titans by 1 point. Titans go with the spread. That's what I'm talking about, baby. Saints fan here, but I bet on the Titans spread, and sure enough, the best possible outcome happened. Saints winning, Titans covering the spread. Derek Carr, stats wise, looked like he had a good game. Unfortunately for the Saints fans, I think there's not too much to be impressed about. Derek Carr looks like Derek Carr. It is what it is. Ravens beat Texans by 16, 25-9. Texans were not able to get a touchdown. CJ Stroud, decently impressed in his debut. New Baltimore offense looks pretty good. Unfortunately for Baltimore, they're going to be without their running back once again, J.K. Dobbins. Torn Achilles. He's out for the season and a contract year for him. You have to feel for him. Um, Very unfortunate for him. Like it's a contract year, and I know all the running back talk lately. It's hard to see he's going to have a bounce back in his career. Unfortunately for him, pretty gifted running back, but like I said, that's just the way the dice roll, and hope he gets better soon. Um, Panthers and Falcons. Falcons beat Panthers by 14. Bijan Robinson looks like a first round pick. He does his thing. I mean, he's juking people out left and right out there, breaking people's ankles. So yeah, Falcons get the win over the Panthers by 2 scores. Bengals Browns. Joe Burrow, highest paid quarterback, surely doesn't play like it. Granted, Deshaun Watson didn't do any better. 154, one touchdown, one interception. Yeah, Bengals offense never really got going, but I'll give it to the Browns. Their defense looks solid out there. Like I said, maybe it was the weather. Maybe the weather had something to do with it. Who knows? Yeah, it could also just be week one Joe Burrow. We all know at this point he doesn't do well against one against the Browns and two in week one. So maybe that was it. Jaguars Colts. Jaguars beat the Colts 31-21. Anthony Richardson impresses. I mean, he does well in his debut. Trevor Lawrence shows why he's a blooming star in the league. Calvin Ridley got over 100 yards. First game back from the gambling scandal. I say scandal, but suspension really. 101 yards and a touchdown on 8 catches. 8 catches. I think Trevor Lawrence obviously has a new favorite target in Jacksonville. Once again, one of those things where the score doesn't really maybe show the whole story, because I will say I think going into the fourth, into the third, start of the fourth, the score was like 17-21. Colts were winning. Like I said, they were looking really good. But Jaguars pulled out in a division game. Let's see. Moving on to the next game, kind of a shocker. Decent underdog, and the Buccaneers beat the Vikings at home. They're able to oust the Vikings by a field goal. Kirk Cousins looked okay. Main story here is obviously Justin Jefferson getting 150 yards on 9 catches. 7 of those catches and 138 of those yards came in the first half. So lackluster second half for him. And Kirk Cousins, who unfortunately wasn't able to get it going, wasn't able to pull out the win for the Vikings. Buccaneers look decent for what it's worth. I know a lot of people had them pegged as one of the worst teams in the league. But yeah, here they are. They win their first game, kind of in a shocker upset. And speaking of a shocker, 49ers and Steelers, not really a shocking outcome, but a shocking domination by the Niners against a solid Steelers defense, 30-7. The Niners beat the Steelers, pretty dominant. Kenny Pickett looked terrible for what it's worth. And like I said, I know people were really impressed for the later part of his season last season. But yeah, I don't know. He didn't look all that good. I mean, he ended up getting 232 yards. But I know in the first half he had like major struggles. It really wasn't all that pretty. Maybe he can pick it up. Like I said, 49ers defense, that's kind of a tough assignment to look good on. Christian McCaffrey gets 152 yards and a touchdown. Good for the fantasy owners out there. Real quickly cover these next games. Cardinals and Commanders. Commanders beat Cardinals 20-16. Sam Howell looks decent in his under the new ownership for the Washington Commanders. I think, the Commanders should be able to hold tight with him out there. Packers and Bears. Justin Fields looks terrible. Packers win 30-20. I'm sorry, 38-20, even worse. Jordan Love era is in full swing. 3 touchdowns for Jordan Love and 245 yards. Like I said, Justin Fields running around out there, 9 carries, 59 yards. Moving on, Raiders and Broncos in what was a very close game. Sean Payton's first game as Broncos head coach, and he loses at home against the Raiders as a favorite. So not looking good for Sean Payton era Broncos. Jimmy G looked decent in his Raiders debut, 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, an interception, and he Devontae Adams. Everyone thought he was going to be the favorite target, but here we got Jacoby Myers pulling in 9 catches for 81 yards and 2 touchdowns. Eagles Patriots. Yeah, it was pretty bad showing for the Patriots in the first quarter. Turnovers, there's all around sloppiness gave the Eagles a 16-point advantage in the first quarter. Patriots were able to come back in the second quarter, score 14, made it a 2-point game going into half. But from there, the Eagles kind of dominated, had their way. For what it's worth, Mac Jones got 316 points, 3 touchdowns. But like I said, he had a pretty bad interception there as well. But speaking of a quarterback duel, we had Tua Tagovailoa getting 466 yards in the Dolphins' victory over the Chargers in what came down to a pretty close game, back and forth all the way through. But Dolphins were able to get a victory against the Chargers by 2 points. Tyreek Hill got like 200-something yards, 2 touchdowns. Very impressive showing. We all knew the Dolphins' offense was going to do their thing, and here they are upsetting. Or I say upset. I'm not sure if it was an upset or not, but hey, they beat the Chargers. And the last game that's been completed, Rams and Seahawks. Rams dominate the Seahawks, and it's kind of surprising. 30-13 wasn't even close. Like Stafford, they got 334 yards, pretty impressive. I mean, no touchdowns, no interceptions. I mean, nothing to write home about. But I mean, hey, the Rams looked good all around. good for them. Like I said, the underdogs, and like I said, week one, that's what you don't want to do. A little betting tip for you: week one NFL is a good time to bet the underdogs. As we see here, a bunch of underdogs came away with outright victories. Not even just covering the spread, but outright victories. And speaking of a game going on right now, unfortunately for Giants fans, cover your ears because right now, it's the start of the fourth at the time of this recording, and Cowboys are about to score again. It's 33-0 right now for the Cowboys, playing in New York. Not not pretty for the Giants. Not really looking good for you, but Tony Pollard so far has got 2 touchdowns on 14 carries. Dak Prescott, not really impressing. I mean, he's got 143 passing yards, and half of those are to CD Lamb off of 4 passes. So yeah, yeah, we had Victory Monday lined up, but I'm going to save it for Wednesday, so that Peyton has his fair shot of giving his biggest winners and losers. But on behalf of Peyton, I will say thank you for tuning in. As always, we appreciate you listening. And, hopefully Wednesday we can go a full episode without something crashing on us. That'd be ideal. But until then, stay happy, stay healthy, enjoy your week. I know we'll try. Like I said, we're off the high that is football, NFL, college, all around. And, yeah, so thank you as always. And we'll see you next time. Peace.